Okay, so one of the most strenuous tasks of being an educator is being able to get your student excited to learn, able to learn, and then retain the information that they just learned. Now, how can we, as future teachers, get our students to do this? The task is seemingly improbable, but with motivation, it becomes quite easy. Now, motivation is the rise to an action, and learning in itself is an action, as it is something we do, something we initiate. So why do so many teachers leave motivation out of the classroom? Learning is an action that is kick-started by motivation. There are two types of motivation, intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. What are those? Intrinsic motivation is doing an activity for your own satisfaction. It's a natural motivation driven by curiosity, playfulness, and exploration. It is also a critical element in cognitive, social, and physical development because you are acting through your own interests, and that creates growth in knowledge and skills. An example of this would be a student who's writing an essay, or writing a poem, or writing just for creative writing. They're doing it for their own interests, not for any external reward or anything like that. And then there's extrinsic motivation, and the easiest way to describe this would be someone doing an activity for something outside other than their intrinsic motivation. So they're doing it for a reward like, okay, I'm going to do this because I want a piece of candy, or I want to do this because I want a good grade or to please my teacher. So applying the two in the classroom, why do we want to do this and why is it important? Well, according to a study done on motivation in the classroom, standardized test scores have positively correlated with intrinsic motivation. GPA also shows a high positive correlation with intrinsic motivation. And to point out on this study, it was done on grades 3 through 8, so it's quite a variety of ages and different ethnicities. And extrinsic motivation has positively affected achievement and performance goals of students. But what's the catch? So, pure extrinsic motivation shown to correlate negatively to GPA and standardized tests. But intrinsic motivation becomes harder to use in classrooms as the grades get higher, so it becomes hard to decide what you're going to use in your classroom because especially with your upper level classes in high school and stuff like that, the focus kind of goes to your societal value and how your peers view you. So what can we do to take the good parts of the motivation and take out the bad parts in the class? Well, you always should use intrinsic motivation in your lessons. Do something the student will enjoy. Give rewards at random when a student completes their assignment or task well. This will get the student to be extrinsically motivated to get the reward, but it won't always be expected. Make sure you always applaud your students when they do well on an assignment. Give improvement feedback rather than negative feedback. The student may be looking to please you or their parents, and that goes with the extrinsic motivation. And even in upper level classes, a student appreciates enjoyment. So find a way to make your lesson fun. So for example, I'm an English major. So I kind of thought about how can I make my lessons fun. I thought about poetry, Sometimes the student's not always into Shakespeare. That's not really kind of a fun thing for many students. So I thought maybe you could use lyrics from a popular lyricist that's relevant to the students and engage them in the topic by making them the poet. Or you can give them a challenge option 2 for the extrinsic motivation. Tell the students, okay, if you use X amount of symbols or X amount of stanzas or involve the theme of despair, if you bring that back and you do it correctly, I'm going to give you a reward, either that being candy, a good grade, or entering it into a contest. And this way the student will improve and retain the information. So kind of the goals of this and how to use it. Use both types of motivation in the classroom. You got to know, kind of get to know your students, know where they're comfortable with the motivation and what really works within your classroom because students are different and the classrooms are different. And then incorporate them equally too. Just don't use intrinsic one day and then extrinsic the other day. Thank you.